action. And we are here today at the Bay Arts Cultural Museum. Thank you. That'll work. All right. Okay, in Panama City. Today is September 27th, 2019. And let's see. Besides myself, Carlton Cartwright, and the Executive Director of the Children's Coalition Incorporated, I have my sound operator, who is Skip Eckharts. And we are here today interviewing, sir, what is your name?
Laurice Ramsey Long. I go by Ramsey.
Okay, Ramsey. When is your birthday?
June 27th, 1946.
And what is your current address?
878 Valley Ridge Drive, Pensacola, Florida.
Okay. And what branch of the service did you serve in?
United States Marine Corps.
Okay, and what period of time was that?
I joined the Marine Corps on November 12th, 1964 in the delayed entry program. Mm-hmm. Went on active duty 12 January of 1965 and retired September 30th, 1986.
Okay. So I take it you served during one or two conflicts?
One conflict mainly was Vietnam.
Okay, you were stationed in Vietnam?
I was.
Okay, thank you. Were you drafted or enlisted?
I enlisted.
Okay. Where were you at the time? Where were you living?
Here in Panama City. Mm-hmm. I enlisted right around the corner there at the old main post office.
Okay. And why did you join that branch?
Just something I wanted to do. My dad had been Army Airborne during World War II. He was wounded. Mm-hmm. And I always wanted to one-up him, and I thought going in the Marine Corps would one-up an Army paratrooper.
Okay. That'll work. So I'm going to check my... Good. Good. All right. Where did you go into basic training?
I went to boot camp in Paris Island, South Carolina. I was in C Company, 1st Battalion, Platoon 105.
Okay. And tell me about your first days in service. What was that like? What was basic training like? That's funny.
Well, in the Marine Corps, people always want to know the first day you stood on the yellow footprints. The yellow footprints were where you ran to when you got off the bus with 4 or 5 maniacs with Smokey Bear hats on, yelling and screaming. And that's what the first days were like. It was just a haze. But I enjoyed it so much that later in my career I became a drill instructor. But it was hectic. It was something you weren't prepared for, but it was something that prepared you to go into combat or whatever.
Okay. And how long was basic training?
13 weeks.
Okay, so
I began on 14 January 1965, and I graduated April 2nd, 1965.
Okay. Did you have any R&R during basic training?
No.
All right. So after basic training, did you go straight to tech school, or did you come home for?
My entire Marine Corps career, I was in infantry. So after boot camp at Paris Island, we went to Camp Geiger, which is located at Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, for basic infantry training. Mm-hmm. And I was selected to be a machine gunner, so I also attended machine gun training.
Okay. How long was that?
About 35 days total. Uh-huh. You're really going to learn your field when you get out in the field.
Right.
That's just to give you the basics of the things you need to know.
Okay. So after that, where did you go? Did you go on leave, or did you go to your first duty station?
After that, I went on leave and then reported into my first duty station, which was also at Camp Lejeune. It was Weapons Platoon, Lima Company, 3rd Battalion, 8th Marines, Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, 2nd Marine Division.
I see you don't remember.
I can quote every one of them.
I see, I get it. How long was that first tour?
I joined the unit, I want to say around mid-May to early June. We left in January of '66 on a Caribbean cruise aboard the LPH-9 USS Guam. We were down there for Santo Domingo. We circled around the island of Santo Domingo. We never landed, and we went to other ports in the Caribbean, and that was a part of the Marine Corps then. There was always a battalion in the Caribbean and always a battalion in the Mediterranean.
Okay.
And always another one on the way and another one back. So
Okay.
that was, while on that cruise, we were asked, we were told that there were 500 quotas for Vietnam. Little did we know that all of us were going to be going anyway. But we fought to get up the stairs first to volunteer. We were still young and gung-ho. And so I came off the Caribbean cruise, went home on leave in April. And May the 12th, I landed in Vietnam at Da Nang Air Base and was assigned to Golf Company 2nd Battalion 4th Marines, which was located south of Marble Mountain in a place called the Sands.
Okay, and that's in Vietnam?
In Vietnam, south of Da Nang.
Okay, and I think, how long were you there? How long was your tour?
The tours were 12 to 13 months. I extended while I was over there. Ended up staying 16 months. I was medevaced, not for a wound. I got an ear infection, and it wouldn't cure in the monsoon season. So they flew me home on a medevac.
Okay. Just to go back for a minute, and I'll try to pick that up where we left off. Do you remember any of your instructors in basic training and tech school?
I can name every one of them. My senior drill instructor was Staff Sergeant Bernard Mounts. My drill instructors were Sergeant Rogers, Sergeant Asta, and Sergeant Ferguson.
Okay.
They're all alive but one.
Really?
Staff Sergeant Mounts died about 15 years ago. The others are all still alive and well.
I see you stayed in touch with them.
No, I've searched them out and found them.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Cool. How did you get through basic training? I mean, it was rigorous. It was tough. What was your mindset to get through it?
Fear of failure.
Okay.
To fail would mean you go home not being a Marine, not earning that Eagle, Globe, and Anchor that is so vitally important to us in the Corps. Not to let down the guy that's next to you. I joined on the buddy system with another Marine from Panama City.
Right.
We had grown up together. We had gone to elementary school together. And we went in on the buddy system. And the only time we ever saw each other was in boot camp. We graduated from boot camp together. So it was not to let him down, not to let the others down, and to make sure I didn't fail in the eyes of my drill instructors.
Right. Okay. So back to your duty station in Vietnam. So how long were you on sick leave?
That was after I returned.
Oh, that was your second tour?
No, I went to Vietnam and I stayed from May the 13th of '66 till July 17th of '67.
Okay, and then you got the ear infection?
I got the ear infection during July and it wouldn't heal, and I was sent to a medical facility.
That was in '67?
Yes.
Okay. Tell me about your tour in Vietnam.
Well, as I said, I began south of Da Nang in a place called the Sands. We had a perimeter there. We had, every night we had infiltration from Viet Cong. We weren't fighting against the NVA at that time, it was Viet Cong.
Right.
And they were infiltrating the lines every night. Shortly after I had gotten there, maybe a month or two, we moved north to Phu Bai. And in Phu Bai, we continue with operations against enemy coming into the area, etc.
Right.
And from Phu Bai, we moved to a place called Dong Ha. And that's where most of the action that I incurred with the infantry unit occurred. I was with Golf Company, 2nd Battalion, 4th Marines, and we were on Operations Hastings and Operation Prairie. 25 of us in my company walked out of Operation Hastings. Operation Prairie, 19 of us walked out. The rest were casualties or KIAs. We were fighting the 324th B Division of the North Vietnamese Army, and they were well trained as we were. They were there to do to us what we were there to do to them.
Right.
About September of '66, I transferred from 2-4. As I said, the battalion had been wiped out twice. Didn't know anybody left in the platoon. I transferred, there was an opening, and I transferred to a unit called 1st Force Reconnaissance Company. We ran 6 to 7 man patrols in enemy territory, trying to find out the movements of the enemy, the location of the enemy, to try and hit them before they hit our lines of our battalions. And that was out of Dong Ha at first, and then from Dong Ha I moved to Da Nang, and we did patrols from Chu Lai all the way up to the DMZ.
Okay. Okay. Were you ever wounded?
No.
Okay.
My dad, when I was leaving for Vietnam, had been wounded pretty badly in the Philippines in World War II.
Oh, okay.
And he told me if I needed a Purple Heart, he had one for me. I took his advice. He says that's the only time I ever took his advice. And my sister would probably agree.
Okay. All right, sounds like it was good advice. Okay. So, all right, were you ever a prisoner of war?
No.
Good. Okay. Were you awarded any medals or citations?
Just the normal medals that every Marine gets. I think I have a total of, I think it's 16 ribbons and medals.
Okay.
Navy Achievement, Good Conduct, Vietnam Service, Vietnam Campaign, Vietnam Cross of Gallantry, Korean Defense. Did I say Good Conduct? It's seven Good Conduct Awards.
Okay.
I was a good guy.
All right.
I guess.
Okay.
At least I got the medal.
All right. And I see you forgot
But
as
it was,
usual.
it was, there were a few of them there that I don't remember.
Okay. Well, that's enough for openers. I promise you. Just in case, I was my father's co-guardian, and I thought he only had the one Purple Heart until I became his co-guardian, and I had lost it. So I called Washington. They can recover all of those. He had 7 other medals, and I have them all now. So
I've got a letter out. I think that I rate 3 others. That would give me 5 full rows of ribbons.
good.
I don't know how many medals, but
Good.
I've got a company that'll put them together for me, and I'm doing that for my daughters.
Oh, great.
I'm building a shadow box for each of my 2 daughters.
Oh, great. Okay. Nice.
I thought it was something they might want.
I'm sure that it is something that they would want to have. Okay. Were you ever involved in any battle planning?
In Force Recon, I was a patrol leader. And Force Recon, you are given op orders, and you plan out where you're going to go on your patrol.
Right.
You'll be given coordinates that they want to have looked at. then you'll do an overflight from a Huey helicopter. You'll fly over where you're going to be inserted, and that's what we call going out in the field with an insertion.
Right.
And an extraction was coming out.
Yeah.
We would go out on an overflight, and then a day later we would go in with the team, and we would stay out in the field for anywhere from 7 to 14 days.
Okay.
And as the patrol leader, I would plan that patrol for my unit.
Right.
Where I planned on us going, what I was looking for, what I wanted them to look for.
Okay. Okay. So you were very much a part of battle planning.
Yes.
Okay. How did you stay in touch with your family? Well, how did you stay in touch with your family from basic training all the way through your active duty?
It varied.
Okay.
So I'll go through the whole career at once. In Vietnam, I tried to write a letter home to mom and dad. I wasn't married at the time. I'd gotten a Dear John letter from an old girlfriend, so I didn't have a girlfriend. I had my sister and my brother, mom and dad, and grandparents. And I wrote them a letter at least once a month.
Okay.
And whoever I wrote the letter to would share with the others.
Okay.
Then there was no way of making a phone call. I went on R&R, rest and recuperation. They gave you a 1 week R&R in various places. I went to Bangkok, Thailand, and you were able to make a phone call from there. So I made a phone call to my mother. It was probably $100 call at the day. And mom and dad weren't wealthy people, but they paid for that call.
Right.
So then I got to other duty stations, and you could use what was called the Mars radio system.
Okay.
And the Mars radio system, you would call an operator.
Yeah.
What are those called? Two-way radios. They would operate. You would call the operator, and you would say he would contact another operator closer to your home, ham operator.
Oh, okay.
And they would and so I would talk to my operator, and he would say, "You're going to have to say a sentence, and then when you're through, say over." So I would say, "Mom, I'm doing fine. I love you. I'm hearing blah blah blah," and over. And then he would repeat to her what I had just said.
Right.
And she would tell me her message and say over, and they would repeat. And that was the way we communicated.
Okay.
No cell phones, none of that was available.
Right.
And in my case, I'm glad they weren't available. I don't think I could have handled being able to contact my parents or my girlfriend or my wife instantly wherever I am. And I think that's a problem they're running into now with the military.
I understand, believe me.
So it was mainly letters the whole time I was in.
Okay.
Letters were the major communication. Once I got married and had children, I tried to write my wife when I was overseas, which was more often than I would wish, but when I was overseas, I would try and write her at least once a week, if not several times a week, and try and just keep her informed on where I was and what I was doing.
Okay. How was the food?
The food?
Yeah.
Well, in Vietnam, it was sea rations.
Okay.
It was okay unless you got the green ham and eggs. I could handle everything else, but the ham and eggs,
no good.
no good.
Okay.
Couldn't handle them.
How was? Go ahead.
It was you didn't get to eat them hot because when you're in the field, you don't want the enemy smelling the
Food.
little tabs that you could eat them with.
Yeah.
So mainly they were eaten cold, but it sufficed. Kept me alive.
I see. Okay, so beyond the food issue, did you have all the supplies that you needed?
We did.
Yeah.
There would always, you go into combat expecting to live a Spartan lifestyle, and you certainly did live a Spartan lifestyle, but that's what you expected.
Right.
And as long as I had clothes that weren't ripped to shreds and could get new ones when those got torn, I was okay.
You were good to go. Tell me two, besides the incidences that you've already spoken of, tell me two other unforgettable incidences.
In my career.
Right, from A to Z, anywhere in there.
In Okinawa, I was the company first sergeant for headquarters company 9th Marine Regiment, stationed at Camp Hansen, Okinawa. Had a young Marine from Alabama, and he had decided that he wanted to re-enlist in the Marine Corps. And he came to me for advice. I was the senior enlisted. Came for me for advice, and I talked him into going for embassy duty. And he went to embassy duty. And you can look him up now, Corporal Dixon. He was a staff sergeant in El Salvador, and he was one of 4 embassy Marines killed at a place that I had sent him to. That is one unforgettable incident. And I guess the second is marching in the inauguration of Jimmy Carter. We had to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning. By then I was a gunnery sergeant, stationed in Washington, D.C. at Marine Barracks, Washington. It was snowing, it was cold, and we wear those white cloth gloves.
Yeah.
And you have to wet them in order to do your manual of arms with your weapon. And your hands are freezing in this cold, and you're out there at 2 in the morning, and you don't start marching until 8 or 9 in the morning. But that was an unforgettable incident, to march in front of the reviewing stand in the parade staff. I wasn't with the other Marines, I was with the parade staff at the very front.
Yeah.
One of the 9 Marines, and I've got that picture on my wall at home.
Yeah.
In the inauguration with us coming in front of President Carter.
Right. Okay. Congratulations. Okay. Did you keep a diary?
I did not.
What? Okay. What?
I didn't keep a diary, and I didn't take pictures, and I hate it today. I mean, I look back and I see young Marines today. If I talk to a young Marine, I tell them when they get to a unit and make friends to write down the friend's name and home of record.
Right.
And to write down any places that they are at, what they do, who they see. I said, you're going to want to remember that one day. In the Marine Corps I was in, we didn't talk. I was not known as Ramsey. I was known as Long. I knew people's rank, and I knew their last name. So now if I want to go find somebody, I can't find them because I didn't keep good notes or a diary. And I advise that of every Marine I talk to.
Right.
And I'm in a lot of groups on Facebook that are all Marines.
Yeah.
So I give them that advice as much as I can.
I hear you. Okay. Oh, what did you think of officers?
All the officers I served with, although some were very young and immature, they were all there for the right reason.
Okay.
And I had good officers.
Okay.
I'm still in contact with several generals that I served with.
Right.
I served with them when they were lieutenant colonels or majors or captains or lieutenants. And I'm still in contact with them today.
Okay. Good. Okay. And your peers, your fellow soldiers, everything was good?
Always good.
Okay.
I was a Marine Corps drill instructor for 3 years. And out of that 3 years, I had 12 platoons.
Okay.
Of that 12 platoons, I found 8 of my recruits, and I talk to them every day. Tonight, one of the recruits from my very first platoon as a drill instructor is celebrating his 50th wedding anniversary with his wife.
Wow.
And I'm going to call him at 8 o'clock, and his daughter's going to answer the phone and hand it to him, He's not going to know it's me, and it's going to be FaceTime, and I'm going to congratulate him.
Right.
He was a good young recruit.
Nice.
And a good Marine, and I enjoyed being a drill instructor and associating with him.
Right.
2 weeks ago, I found my admin chief from Okinawa, Corporal Peter Ramirez. He retired from the Marine Corps as a gunnery sergeant. And just to tell you how coincidences occur, I happened to look on a site called Together We Served,
Right.
Marine Corps. And a new person had joined, so it flashes up. And I looked at it and I said, that's Corporal Ramirez. Well, he retired as a gunnery sergeant, and that was the day he joined that site, was the day I decided to go and look at it.
Right.
And so he and I have been in phone contact ever since. He
Congratulations.
says, you were always like a father to me. And I said, well, just call me anytime you need me. And that's how I always tried to be. My Marines came first, and I took care of my Marines.
Right.
I was in Naples, Italy, 1968. The night Martin Luther King was killed, I was on liberty in Naples. My platoon was almost all black. They surrounded me out in town and said, Sergeant Long, you're going back to the ship. You don't need to be out here tonight. There's too many bad things going on. And they took me back to my ship. I say that because to me, my Marines were all green. But to them, I was their leader and they were going to protect me.
Wow.
And I would have done the same for them.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. Where were you prior to separating? Right up to separating. Where were you stationed when you were getting ready to separate?
Listed on my paperwork that I retired as a highest rank attained was first sergeant.
Okay.
I was selected as a sergeant major on a list, and they frocked me. Frocking is giving you the rank but not the pay.
Okay.
They frocked me as the sergeant major and made me the battalion sergeant major for 3rd Battalion, 2nd Marines. When the actual promotion certificate came in the mail in April of '86, I made a decision that I was not going to accept it, and I was going to retire as a first sergeant. My daughters were teenagers. My wife and I had already been separated 14 months, and I was looking at another at least 8 months of separation. So I decided it was time to go home and be a dad, which I hadn't been. And my daughters, like I said, were teenagers. So my last unit was 3rd Battalion, 2nd Marines, serving as the sergeant major, but in a frocked position, not actually having the rank.
Besides Vietnam and your basic training in tech school, where else did you travel while you were in the service?
I went to Korea twice, Operation Team Spirit. We go and do a joint operation with the Korean military, and went there twice on that. Went to the Philippines. I went to the British Indian Ocean Territory, Diego Garcia, as the battalion sergeant major for 3-2. I had a company stationed there. There was 1 there and 3 in Korea, so I had to fly from Okinawa to Korea to Diego Garcia once each month.
Where's Diego Garcia?
British Indian Ocean Territory.
Okay.
It's way out there. It's called the Footprint of Freedom. It looks like a footprint.
Oh, really?
And it's right in the middle of the Indian Ocean, I believe it is.
Okay.
Just a beautiful island. But I went to I did a Mediterranean cruise, and I did a Caribbean cruise. I guess that's it.
What did you do when you got out of the service? Where were you when you separated?
I separated at Camp Lejeune.
Okay.
My wife and children were in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, where I had been stationed with the reserve staff.
Right.
I was the active duty staff with a reserve unit. And I left them there when I went to Lejeune because I knew I was going to an infantry unit that was going to Okinawa. One of my reserve members was the director of the state police, and he got me a job at the State Police Academy. And I worked there shortly, and then I came back to Florida. Mother was here, my sister was here. My wife and I returned to Pensacola, Florida. And I went to work for the Department of Children and Families as a child abuse investigator.
Okay. How long did you do that?
15 years.
Okay.
And that's a hard life. I didn't know it happened. I didn't know the abuse that was out there.
Yeah.
And I worked in various areas. I worked here in Panama City. I worked in Pensacola. I was director of case management for the service side of the house for the 4 counties in Escambia, Okaloosa, Santa Rosa, and Walton counties. I just have a great deal of respect for those people that do that job.
Right, I'm sure. Did you use your GI Bill? Did you go back to school or buy a house or?
Actually, the Marine Corps sent me to college while I was on active duty for 4 of my years. I went to college.
Okay.
I had 2 programs that I applied for, and I got both of them.
Okay.
And ended up with a bachelor's degree in Bachelor of Arts in Criminal Justice and a Bachelor of Arts in Sociology from University of West Florida.
Okay.
And no, I never used my JIP.
No? Okay. All right. You belong to any veterans organizations?
Not much of a joiner.
No big deal.
I tried to join. I started to join a group over in Pensacola,
Right.
and I was an old infantry type. And the first guy that I ran into started telling me what he did in Vietnam, and I knew it to be a lie, and I just decided it was best I stay away from that.
Okay. Gotcha.
So,
Last question. How did your military experience influence your life, and how did your service affect your life? The experience that you had. What did you walk away with?
I think the Marine Corps made me who I am.
Okay.
It made me a man who will stand for what is right. It made me a man who does not like to see anybody wronged or put down in any way. I think it helped me be a leader. I think it helped me, or it hurt me in one way, in that I have a very hard time making friends. And I guess that's because every position I've had since I retired from the Marine Corps, I've been in a leadership position. And the Marine Corps always taught me in leadership, don't get too close to your subordinates.
Okay.
To keep that role. And I think I went too far with that role, and that makes it hard. I know I can find them in church, but it still makes it hard.
All right. Well, I'd like to thank you for the interview, and I'd like to thank you for your service.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
I enjoyed it.
Absolutely.